Every night, a man comes to my window and screams. This probably sounds terrifying to the average person, but I have honestly gotten somewhat used to it by now. Yes, the melted flesh of his face barely hanging on to the tip of his nose and cheekbones still makes me a little nauseous. And admittedly, the way he locks his white, pupilless eyes on mine as he threateningly points a decaying finger in my direction comes off as distinctly threatening. But as with many things in life, you learn to cope with it. The first few times the man appeared, I alerted the nearby authorities as soon as possible. But it was clear they didn't believe me or understand the seriousness of the situation. A few empty phrases about how he is supposed to be there and how they are certain he isn't causing a disturbance was all I got. Police, am I right? This whole thing wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the impact on my admittedly fragile mental state. I find myself having trouble remembering simple things. When did I last eat? Where do I live? How long have I been here? The screaming continues through every thought, fading away slightly as I try to clear my mind, only to push back stronger than ever as I lose sight of the thin thread of memory I was so desperately seeking to pull. The walls around me look familiar, but somehow not comforting, not like home. Food is bland and tasteless, and I can't remember the last time I spoke to a friend or family member. I'm not entirely sure I can even remember my family. Whenever I try to picture them, I simply get a mind full of haze and ears full of screaming, that awful, eternal screaming. If I focus really hard, maybe I can conjure up a better picture now. I think I last saw them when, that memory was so close. But, like all the others, it is now gone. I'm speaking to you now because things appear to be taking a sudden turn for the worse, even when compared to my already unfortunate situation. Night has just fallen, or at least that's the general feeling that I have. Keeping track of time has been exceptionally difficult over the past few, weeks. Anyway, the screaming man is here, as always, and he is looking at me very intently now. Even in my muddled state, I can sense that he clearly wants to enter my room, wants to get at me. I watch in horror as he pushes the window open with no resistance, stepping forward slowly into my room. His grotesque melted face and bone-white eyes are fixated solely on me. His mouth is wide open, continuing his internal scream, though, with all due fairness to my demonic tormentor, I'm not sure his mouth is capable of closing in his current state. The screaming man lifts one decaying arm, raising it to first point at me, then at the near corner of the room, clearly indicating, "Go there." I, not being prone to displeasing the undead, am happy to comply. As I walk to the corner, I notice something else about the screaming man. Something that causes me to shudder involuntarily. He appears to be holding in his hand a rotting fruit of some sort, possibly a small apple or pear. The fruit is blackened beyond any definitive identification and appears to be slowly melting away and shedding its skin in much the same way as the bearer. To my horror, the man raises the rotted, festering fruit and moves his hand toward me. A wave of nausea rolls over me as I realize in disgust that he wants me to eat it. I turn my head away, fighting back revulsion. The screaming man does not like this. His eyes suddenly glow bright red. His face distorts into an even more horrifying vision of pure rage. My body freezes, although I desperately want to turn away, to run from this horrible creature. I find my back pressed firmly against a wall, and my mouth opening against my will. The man continues to scream, stepping closer to me and raising the foul fruit to my lips. He tilts his palm upward, forcing it into my mouth. I feel my throat instinctively swallow through no thought of my own. The screaming man, apparently satisfied, allows his eyes to fade back to white and steps back. At this point, there's an awkward pause. The screaming man is watching me carefully, but no longer advances or suggests that any action from me is desired. My brain isn't adult enough to miss the humor in this situation, as I engage in an unwilling staring eye contest with the ultimate opponent, one lacking any eyelids. We both wait, simply watching each other for some time. It could be seconds, minutes, or even hours for all I know, until something very strange begins to happen. The screaming man begins to stop screaming. This change, this reduction in the intensity of pure dread that I have been fighting as long as my fuzzy memory can remember, washes over me like a healing wave. I begin to breathe a little more easily and build up enough courage to turn my body and face the moderately loud man head on. The volume of screaming continues to decline quickly. In fact, his entire face begins to slowly heal itself. Skin that was once hanging off of his forehead has now been returned to his rightful living location. His lips, which moments ago had decayed away entirely, and now a healthy pinkish hue, enclosed firmly. His eyes are no longer pure white, but a kind of boring, everyday brown. What is now standing in front of me is a perfectly average-looking man, maybe 5'10", a little on the heavier side if I'm to be fully honest, but not at all a terrifying creature that has been haunting my sleep all this time. Furthermore, he does not look at all disturbed by recent events. If anything, he looks bored, his untanned face giving absolutely no indication of the intense, soul-chilling sound that was recently emanating from his mouth. A minute passes, followed by another. With each passing moment, my brain clears and the fog lifts, allowing me to better study my surroundings. I find myself in a very small room, one that does not look at all like my home, a cell, a prison cell. My mind somehow remembers. I look to the formerly screaming man, who is no longer screaming. I observe at his on guard but professional demeanor, his well-pressed shirt, and the keys hooked to a loop on his belt. A prison guard. My mind continues to clear from the drug cocktail, not cursed fruit that I have just ingested. I start remembering how long I've been here, the routine and monotony of my life, how every evening a guard comes to provide me these pills and to tell me that he is supposed to be there. He is not causing a disturbance. He is not the screaming man. The fog continues to lift. I think back to my life before prison, life with my friends and family. My family. My eyes roll back in my head. I open my mouth wide, then I begin to scream. Hi everyone, it's Creepy Sensei here. Thank you for listening to this interesting creepypasta. The author's links for this story will be posted down below in the description.